And welcome back to Tabletop for One's podcast. I'm your host, Daniel, and we are going to be talking about Kickstarters and new pre-orders as we explore board game news, new releases, and everything like that. Now, as you may not know, I don't actually back Kickstarters anymore, but I do like to follow the Kickstarters and see what's coming up because there's a lot of really interesting games that are coming out, especially for the solo gaming community. And so in this episode, I will talk about different campaigns that started earlier this week, so February 6th and February 7th, and we'll talk about the solo games there, and then we'll talk about some pre-orders. And so the solo offering in the crowdfunding space is kind of a mixed bag this week. We have some really good looking ones and some really not so good looking ones. So I'm going to talk about the ones that stood out for me on both ends of those spectrums. And so let's start off with Pocket Air War. Pocket Air War is a game that's designed by WBS Games, and it looks to be like a fun air skirmish game and with a solo mode. And there's actually a solo and co-op mode. Now, in Pocket Air War, you actually use a ruler to move your airplanes and turn them and that sort of thing. Of course, you'll be rolling dice to do combat, and it looks really interesting. Now, it says it's a pocket game, and the cost of the game is coming in at $49 with an MSRP of almost $70. So while it says it's a pocket game, it's a big game price. So yeah, it's going to cost a bit of money. On top of that, the shipping to North America is at minimum almost $30. So with those things, it just, as interesting as this game looks, I can't even fathom why it costs so much. That's just way too much money. You're talking $80 at least. So I can't recommend this game, even though it looks like a lot of fun for an air skirmish game. And then next up we have Pencil First. Now Pencil First is bringing 3 games to the crowdfunding. And so we have Sunrise at the Studio, Snowfall Over Mountains, and Floriferous the Pocket Edition. Now, if you know me, I love Floriferous. I think Floriferous is a fantastic solo game, and I really enjoy it. I don't own it anymore, I gave it away, but I really love that game. And Snowfall Over Mountains looks like a fun tile laying game. Both those games come in at $15 to pledge for them. Sunrise at the Studio is one of their new normal size games for them. It's still a small box game, but not quite as small as the pocket games. And that comes in at $25, but you can get the entire set for $50. So it looks like you save $5 there. Now, unfortunately, you're going to be adding anywhere from $10 to $16 depending on the pledge you choose. I guess it's not too bad. The trio that I talked about, the Sunrise, Floriferous, and Snowfall, it's coming in at $14 for shipping. That's close to standard shipping nowadays. I guess priority mail would be about $14 anyways. So I guess it's not horrible, but then again, you're going to question whether you should get it now or later. I do very much like Pencil First, and I like supporting them, but also bear in mind, this is a March 2025 delivery. So we're looking at just over a year before you're going to see this game. And so, yeah, I'm not sure about backing this one. The time, the shipping, and all that, you may just want to wait until it comes to retail later, and maybe just order one of their other games in the meantime, because they have a lot of great games. I love Herbaceous, the Whatnot Cabinet, Floriferous. You can order a lot of those ahead of time, so maybe go that way if you don't own any of their games. But of course, if you own their games and love your games, I'm not going to stop you from backing this one. All right, so next up is one of the games that is really, really tempting me to break my no backing policy. And this is Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail. Now, Trailblazer it's a sequel to the original Trailblazer. I think it was the John Muir Trail. And so this is a sequel here with Arizona as the theme. And the reason why I'm tempted by this one is because a friend of mine is actually doing the solo mode for this game. So I trust him when he's making the solo mode to make a really good one. And so I have no doubt in his capabilities, and that makes me want to back this all the more. Now, to back the game, the retail edition is $50. The deluxe edition is $69. Comes with dual layer player boards and miniatures and the stretch goals. So I guess the retail edition doesn't come with the stretch goals, but at least the solo mode comes in the retail or the deluxe edition. So that's all I'm concerned about. So if I do back this game, and like I said, I'm really tempted to. I've got the little remind me thing on there. And if I do back it, I'll probably be backing it at the retail level. I really shouldn't be backing games right now, but I do want to support my friend because this is his design for the solo mode. So yeah, this one looks really good, and I've heard nothing but good things about the previous edition. Now, if you hear sounds in the background, I apologize. They're doing construction in the housing behind me, and so unfortunately, you might hear some of those sounds. So sorry about that. All right, so we're moving on to a mint tin game called Doom Tin Crawler. And so it has a print play option as well as a physical copy. And so you're going to see this game in the art and you're going to think, is this a Grey Gnome game? Is this designed by the same designer as Iron Helm and Dust Runner and other great games? No, this is a different one. It does look very similar in art, but a different game. But this one I'm really unsure about. Now, the price comes in at $19. And on top of that, you're looking at, I think it's $7 to ship it. So you're looking at $27 for a tin game, which is kind of similar to getting it from GameCrafter because, GameCrafter's shipping is crazy. You end up spending like $13, $14 or whatever for shipping from GameCrafter. So it's similar there. But the problem I have with this game is, well, you just don't know what you're playing. Like, they didn't really give much of an example, and it's kind of hard to see what you're going to play. And the pictures of the cards, you can't even read them. I tried to zoom in on them, and they're just blurry, so you don't even know what it's like and how it plays. Now, there is one playthrough for it, and it's from my friend Mike Martin on Sword and Board Games, and I like Mike. He's a great guy. And so if you want to check out the playthrough there, his playthrough even gives me cause for concern. Not that he did a bad playthrough, it's just I don't know if I like it. And so, yeah, I'm not too keen on this game here. So I'm going to recommend that you do your research on this one before you back this one. Don't back it just because it's a mint tin game. As much as we love mint tin games, just do your research on that one. So last year I was introduced to journaling RPG games. And this is a new thing for me. Now, it might not be for you, but for me, I had not done anything like that before. And the book that I had received as a review copy was Fox Curio's Floating Bookshop, and I love the game. It's a journaling game where you have a floating bookshop that you're going down the river, and you have day and night cycles, and you're decorating your shop and doing all sorts of things. I love this concept. And so they have a new one out. Well, this is a different designer, but it's called Be Kind Rewind, a video store journaling game. And so you're running kind of like a blockbuster. You're drawing from a deck of playing cards, and you're resolving what that playing card represents by number and by suit. And then you find the prompt that matches that card, and then you're going to see, and kind of write your journal on what happens or what you're thinking and that sort of thing. These kinds of games, this is not your standard board game, even a little different on the RPG side, but it's really good for getting you to journal. And I don't know if you're like me, but I've tried journaling before and I forget to do it, but in game form, it's really neat. It's also really good for my mental health. I found that the Fox Curio's Floating Bookshop with the journaling, it allows me to kind of get outside myself and write about another version of myself that I kind of want to be. And so it's been really good for my mental health. I don't know if this particular game would be, but I'm definitely keen on getting more journaling games. So definitely tempted by this one. And the PDF for it, it's only $1. So, I mean, that's really good. You can also get the physical version for $9. It's just a magazine version. And so the price is really good, and it looks like they have some other zines you can add on as well. All right, so next up is Conquest Princess, Night of the Necropede. And so in Conquest Princess, it's this fantastic adventure crisis management game where you are these agents of Tiara and you have to fight off these enemies, these aliens. And so you control multiple characters. The characters level up. They have a really cool action point system. And you have this bag building mechanic. There's a lot of really good things. Now, I backed the original campaign on GameFound. And so this campaign is for the expansion. although you can back for the base game plus the expansion. And so I did back this one. So I broke my no backing rule, well, mainly because I had backed the original one, and so I want to get the Night of the Necropede expansion. It was only $15 to add it on, and so yeah, that was a no-brainer for me. Of course, this is designed by Seppi Yoon, and he's a friend of mine, and I want to support his projects, so yeah, I recommend this game. I have a playthrough on my channel, but I'm getting the new prototype that is really well done, really well produced, and so I'll likely be doing a new video on it when I receive that prototype. But yeah, that's Conquest Princess, Night of the Necropede, an expansion to the game that will be delivering this summer. Alright, so the next game is published by Eagle Gryphon Games, and it's the designers behind Rococo Deluxe, and so this is called Cookie Champion. Now, at this point, this game is not funding. It doesn't look like it's going to fund. It has a minimum goal of $15,000, and it's not even at $3,500 right now. And looking at this game, it looks fun. The mechanics look fun. I read the rulebook, and the solo mode looks good. But there's just a lot of issues, I think, with just the presentation of the game. I don't think the game looks good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the artist. I don't mind the cover, but I think the graphic design, board design, and all that is just lacking. And now, previously, Eagle Gryphon had used Ian O'Toole for their art for Rococo Deluxe, but they didn't do that for Cookie Champion, and I'm wondering why. Why didn't they do that? Because if you look at the board, it doesn't look like a cooking game. It just doesn't. There's just nothing there. It's very abstracted out. And that is unfortunate because in a game like this, I think you need to have thematic elements on the board and on the cards. It kind of looks plain. I'm sorry to say, but it does. And so I think that's why it's just not doing well. On top of that, if you read the rulebook, now the rulebook is a draft rulebook, but it's really interesting that they fill in empty space with pictures of the pastries and the cookies and stuff. And, you know, they could have added more illustrations, and maybe they're going to, but the rulebook doesn't look good. So, yeah, I take some really big issues with this. The thing is if it did look better, I might be back in this game, because I really like the idea of it. I like the mechanics. Everything looks good that way. But the presentation of it is just so off, and I think that's why not many people have heard about it or are backing it. And so our last crowdfunding game that I'm going to talk about today is Conservas. Now, I mentioned this in my last podcast, but this is published by Salt and Pepper Games, and it is designed by Scott Alms, who is no stranger to solo games. And so this is a bag building game about fishing, also about being respectful of the ocean and making sure that there are enough fish to continue to breed in the ocean. And so, yeah, this looks really interesting. I love the fact that there are multiple scenarios for you to play. The components look good. The art looks good. Yeah, there's a lot of really good things going for it. Now, I have a couple issues with it, all right? So they want you to back this game because of exclusives. You know, they're saying back this now because you're going to get exclusives. Otherwise, if you back the retail edition, you're not going to get those. So at this point, there's only been 2 stretch goals unlocked, and it's just a card in each stretch goal. That really isn't much. And there's only 7 stretch goals. And so I'm really concerned of, like, is it really worth backing now or waiting till retail? Now, Salt and Pepper Games do tend to get to the US late. And so if you're wanting to get it with everybody else, you're going to want to back this ahead of time. But at about $25, with another $16 shipping to the US, you're looking at $40 for this game. That is a small box game. I don't know if it's worth it. And I hate to say that because I think Scott Alms is great. I actually haven't played a lot of his games, but I appreciate the fact that he makes a lot of solo-only games, and he's big in the solo gaming community. I also appreciate Salt and Pepper for bringing a lot of solo games to the solo gaming hobby. But I have some concerns. The exclusives don't look like they're worth it. Why advertise exclusives as the reason for, backing this game, but not have those exclusives ready for you to see from the get-go? They shouldn't even be stretch goals. Maybe the stretch goals should be stretch goals, but the exclusives should just be available right from the get-go. So yeah, I really take some issues with the way they did this campaign. So I don't want you to fall into this trap of, I got to get this campaign because I got to get those, exclusives. Those exclusives just don't look good. But the game looks good. It really does. So I'm going to say wait for retail on this one. Get it when it comes to retail because it looks like a fun game. All right, so that's it for the crowdfunding games. And so we're going to move on to pre-orders. I looked up some pre-orders that are coming out soon. There's one or two that are later, but I just wanted to talk about them anyways. Bunch of solo games that look really interesting that I haven't heard about. And so yeah, we're going to jump right in at Way Too Many Cats. Way Too Many Cats is the latest design by Carla Kopp. Now, Carla Kopp did Stellar Leap, and it is a hidden gem. Nobody knows about Stellar Leap, but Stellar Leap is a great solo game. One of these days I'll do a video on my channel about it because I love the game, and I got it like dirt cheap too. I think I spent like 10 bucks on it. I think oftentimes it's at Noble Knight for 10 bucks. Sorry, I'm talking about the wrong game here, but Way Too Many Cats looks to be another tile drafting game where you're trying to arrange things in a grid, and it looks similar to Whatnot Cabinet, but with extra, mechanics and different things that you have to look for. It looks really good. I love the look of this game. It's by Weird Giraffe Games. It's coming out this month, at least it's estimated to, and so it looks really good. It's it's decently priced at $40. Although if you go on online retailers, you're looking at more like $28. But yeah, this looks really good. It plays 1 to 6 players too. So if you have game groups, that works out really well. It does for me. So yeah, Way Too Many Cats is one that I'm looking forward to. All right, so next up we have Autumn. Autumn is a small card game by Devere Games. If you know Devere Games, they've brought out a lot of good solo games, such as White Castle, Luna Capital, and others. And so they have this card game that is 1 or 2 players, plays in like 10 minutes, and it kind of looks like maybe like a Grove type game or a Forge type game where you're going to be playing cards and overlapping them. And so it says that you want to cover 1 or 2 spaces of leaves with a card to try and get the biggest connecting area of leaves of your color. And so I don't know how the solo mode is going to play with this, but it sounds like it's going to end up like Grove or Forage, and I'm worried that it's going to be too similar to that, but it still looks interesting, especially if you like the autumn colors. And so yeah, we'll see when that comes out to see whether it's worth picking up. Now it's got a good price. You're looking at $12, $10 for it, so the price is really good. But yeah, we'll see when it comes out to see whether it's a good small box game to pick up. And speaking of Devere, they are coming out with a new game called Sand. And so Sand looks really interesting. It looks like a pickup delivery game that has engine building. And so you're traveling across the sand on these big caterpillars, and you get to upgrade the caterpillars. And so that you can do, deliveries faster or carry more things and that sort of thing. It's got player boards with tracks. Hopefully they're dual layer player boards because it does look like they are, and so you're going to be tracking various things. Yeah, Sand looks really good. Now that is due in May, so it's going to be a little while before that comes out, but oh man, I'm liking what Devere has been bringing out lately, and Sand looks to be like a really good game. We'll see, but I have no doubts with Devere. I really don't. They've been bringing out some really solid games. All right, do we have any Marvel Champion fans out there? We have Age of the Apocalypse coming out in March. And so this is the latest big box expansion for Marvel Champions. Now I am at that point where I have just too much. I have way too many Marvel Champions. It's just, there's just so much to this game. It just keeps growing and growing. I love the fact that it keeps growing. I love all the keywords that they keep adding and different things like that, but it's just too much at this point. I don't think I can add any more games. But they do have Magic and Bishop. Yeah, these look great. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be picking this one up. I think I'm done picking up Marvel Champions for a while. I wanted to have everything, but it's just too much. All right, and so I think I saved the best for last. You probably already know, but Imperium Horizons is coming out. This is the latest by Nigel Buckle and David Turtsey, and it is, the Imperium game, which comes with 16, I believe, 16 new civilizations. Actually 14, sorry. 14 new civilizations. And so this is a standalone addition to the Imperium games like Imperium Classics and Imperium Legends. It's coming out this month. It is priced on the little higher at the regular price of $80, but you can pre-order it for much less. I see it for at least $56, so that seems like a great price for it. And it also contains cards reprinted from Classics and Legends for minor balance tweaks and that sort of thing. So that is really good. So Imperium Legends and Classics players are going to want this one. I'm probably going to want this one. I can't afford games right now, but I'm definitely going to pick this up at a later time. It looks really good, and I plan on adding it to my Imperium Classics and Legends, which I really need to play more often. I haven't played through all the civilizations. I've probably played through half of them. And so I don't necessarily need this expansion, but yeah, I definitely want it. So Imperium Legends by Osprey Games, David Turczi, Nigel Buckle, definitely going to be a big hit among solo gamers, and looking forward to adding it to my collection. And that's going to be it for the pre-orders. So we got a lot of new games coming out, a lot of really good things. Now I'll talk briefly about games I received recently. I got Wyrmspan, and man, does Wyrmspan look good. I love the art. I was, sorting everything last night. I got the deluxe components, and those look great, and the metal coins are great. Yeah, so this game looks really good. I never played Wingspan, so yeah, I don't know anything about, playing a game like this, other than I've played games similar to it, I think, but I think I'm going to really enjoy this one. And then I bought Come Together from my local game store. Come Together is designed by one of the designers behind Revive, and so I'm really looking forward to trying this game out. The cards look great, the art looks great. It's got kind of a 70s music, theme to it, which I don't really care about the theme, but it looks like a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to trying that one. And other than that, I think I have 5 Tribes showing up today. 5 Tribes is not a solo game, except they did release an official solo variant. And so I'm going to be featuring that on my channel, doing a tutorial solo playthrough as my Patreons voted for it. And so yeah, I've never played 5 Tribes before, but I like the Mancala mechanic. And so I'm looking forward to playing it, and maybe with my game group as well. So quite a few games coming in, and I'm really looking forward to playing them all. I just don't have enough time. And so by all means, let me know if you have any questions, because I'd like to do a mailbag segment. I don't have any questions yet, but if anybody has any questions on any topic, solo gaming, board gaming, or anything outside of it, I don't mind talking about most topics. So feel free to ask me questions, and if I can't talk about that topic, I will let you know, but I will try to talk about everything. So yeah, I definitely want to have that segment, so ask me any questions in the comments. And I thank you very much for joining me on Tabletop for One's podcast. Have a great night.